Welcome to episode 155 of Two Goalies, One Mic. Brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at 8 different Western New York locations. Fatty Beer is one of the best spots to go to for when it comes to the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. They have fantastic drink specials, especially if you're a Mug Club member, and they're open from 11:30 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. and later. Live music, entertainment, and trivia at all 8 locations. And, of course, they are both kid and dog friendly. Buffalo Go apparel. When it comes to getting any of your shirts, your hats, your hoodies, local designs, your Buffalo sports needs, Buffalo Go has it all. Go check them out, buffalogo.com, at Buffalo Call on Instagram and Twitter. They carry our merchandise, and be on the lookout for a new Lindy Ruff design. We're actually literally right before we came to decided to go live, me and Eric from Buffalo Go were just chatting about it. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be electric. Guys, it happened. It finally happened. The only way this hire could have been better if they would have did it during the season, right after they let him go, and they brought him back right before we played the Devils, because that would have been like the ultimate heel troll move, right? So this Buffalo Sabres have brought back Lindy Ruff. I am blown away. Listen, and this is not, this is about nostalgia. And why wouldn't it be? Like, listen, the best times we had with this franchise were with Lindy Ruff, right? Like, Lindy was such a staple for such a long time with this organization. 13 years as head coach, from 1997 to 2013. So, for me, actually 16 seasons, right? Yeah, that's 6. He was with us for 16 seasons, right? 2007 to 2013. That's 16. That's insanity. If my math is right, that is insane. Had a fantastic record, both in the regular season and the playoffs. And we all know what he brings to the table. And I've said this a couple times too, on both I'll Hang Up and Listen and Two Goalies, One Mic, is that he has adjusted with the times. And when I say that, I mean he has been able to kind of adjust his style to the new breed of player. And when I say that is, it's not like an old school mindset anymore, right? Where you go into a locker room between periods, you throw a water cooler, you kick over a table, you call out players. And I understand that that's not the way it is anymore with today's breed of hockey player. But there's a difference between that and accountability. And what Lindy Ruff will bring to this locker room and to this organization is accountability. And that is so key, right? That is so fucking key. I have been begging for accountability even since last year. And accountability comes in so many different forms. Accountability comes in, mid-game. You have a player just not doing their job, not paying attention to small details, giving up on plays. You bench them. Whether it's for a few shifts or the rest of the game, you bench them. That is not an old school mindset. And that shouldn't affect the performance of your team or the players on said team. Because at the end of the day, they're making millions of dollars to play the game they love. It's a privilege to play this game. And just like us, if we fuck up at work, and we're held accountable, and there are repercussions for when we don't do our job, as should they have repercussions. Because at the end of the day, like, these guys are getting paid no matter what. They're getting paid. They're going home. That's not the same thing with us. It's not. We don't just lose our jobs. They sign a contract, and whether they uphold that contract or not, it's not just up to them. It's up to the coaches too. And that's where I think Granato fell so short. Don Granato never held anybody accountable, at least not in my eyes. And I think the post-season press, locker cleanout interviews, it really was a testament to that there was no accountability from anybody, from anybody on that coaching staff. And, we asked for how long for a more experienced staff around Don Granato. And don't get me wrong, Kevin Adams didn't do him any favors at all. Did him very little when it came to experience on his bench. Marty Wolford, Christie, Matt Ellis. We all know how I feel about Matt Ellis. Like, he did himself, and Kevin Adams did him no favors. For a first-time NHL coach. This is the first time since Dan Bylsma they brought a coach with experience and tenure and proven success. And Lindy Ruff, I think he's the third or fourth most winningest coach in the league's history. And he's only, I think he's 64 years old. I think I read he's 64, which I was surprised. I thought he was older than that. 64 years old. And the guy still has a lot to offer at the game of hockey. And I think he knows that. And if there's anybody who knows how to win in the city of Buffalo, it's Lindy Ruff. He knows what the expectation of the fan base is, the city. He's been through it all here. He has. He's helped lead this team to division titles and conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals. And honestly, it was a staff infection away of winning a cup here. I don't think anyone would disagree with that in 05-06 if Jay McKee doesn't have that freak staff infection before Game 7, the Sabres win the cup that year. I'd be hard-pressed to find anybody who would disagree with that sentiment. The same year, he won the Jack Adams Trophy, for Coach of the Year. And he was nominated for it at least 3 other times. So I've seen more positive than I have seen negative reactions when it comes to Lindy coming back. And hopefully that's all coming full circle. Because the Sabres haven't made the playoffs since he left. Like it's almost like like a curse, right? Like you had to bring him back. Sometimes you get. I saw it in our group chat. Shout out to Ty B. Sometimes you got to take a step back to take a step forward, or to go backwards to move forwards, or whatever that cliche saying is. And maybe that's true here. Because I can tell you this: out of any coach you would have brought in here, outside of the fact that they know what the fans expect, what the city expects, and how it is to win here, and knows the culture here, I don't think there's anybody who's going to give more of themselves to a franchise to get them over the hump than Lindy Ruff. I just call it nostalgia. I'll call what it is. He has experience and he's won in this league. And in terms of his time with New Jersey and how that ended this season, I don't even blame Lindy for that. I don't. He had a goalie who couldn't stop a beach ball. And they didn't decide to address the goaltending situation until after he left, when they got Jake Allen, a guy who is probably one of the better backups in the NHL. He is a legitimate starting goalie in the NHL. He just isn't. So, they traded away his best defenseman. He had injuries on his blue line. Guys offensively weren't doing their job. Like, I don't blame Lindy for that. I genuinely don't. That's not because I have some, bias or love for Lindy Ruff. It's just the facts. I really never thought that he deserved the treatment on his way out the door that he got, especially from the fan base. Like, what did you want the guy to do? His goalie couldn't make a save. He couldn't. Like, he didn't have a starting NHL goaltender. He dealt with what we have been dealing with for God knows how many years. So I'm not going to put that on Lindy Ruff. I'm just not going to. Sorry. But at the end of the day, I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited to see what this means for the roster next season. I'm excited to see how the players react to this news. We know how, Alex Tuch is going to feel. I think Alex Tuch is probably the most excited of anybody because he was a kid watching those teams. He was young. He's younger than me. I was in 05-06. I was 17, 18 years old. I remember I was at my senior dinner, my high school senior dinner, watching that game wearing my Pat LaFontaine jersey over a collared shirt. The night they lost Game 7 in 06 against Carolina. So I think I was 17 or 18 years old. So, he's younger than me. He must have been like 12. He said he grew up watching Tim Connolly. It was, I think, neighbors with Tim Connolly or something like that. So, Alex Tuch is through the roof excited. And, that could change. That could change who the captain is of this team too. You never know. People are saying it was Darlene. Oh, we'll see, man. If it comes down to Lindy Ruff's decision, he might go with a guy like Alex Tuch. Who knows? I don't know. I hope so. I got my Winter Classic jersey already with Lindy Ruff or Alex Tuch already with his with the C on the jersey. So I hope it is him. Yeah, I'm curious to see. You can talk all you want about wanting accountability as players, but will you meet the moment? When it comes to that, money talks, bullshit walks, right? Like I hope they're serious about wanting that accountability and wanting that structure and wanting essentially to have a coach, whoever the next coach was at the time when they were talking about it, was going to be to bring repercussions when there is bad play. Don't be afraid to not only use the word punish, but hold us accountable. I mean, it's the only word really used for it is, hold them accountable. I posted a video a few days ago of Lindy Ruff at practice and him just lighting. It might have been like 07, maybe 08, 09, 2010, whichever team that was. But he was lighting into his players during practice for essentially just not paying attention, and, not doing the small, not doing their jobs and paying attention to small details. And he was lighting into them, swearing up a storm. That's not like berating a player. That's holding players accountable, stopping them in the middle of practice, yelling at them, sure, but then you make them go do it again. And that's what I want when I say accountability. And again, if you have players on this team who, fold when the pressure's on and the coach wants them to be accountable and, tasks them with being accountable, and they fold up like a chair, then you have a bigger problem. Then you have a problem with the player. Because I don't want players like that on my team. I don't want a me player who puts themselves above the team's success and puts their own feelings above the team's success. I'm sorry, that's not how you win in this league. It just isn't. I mean, look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, man. Like, I mean, do they get how they're about to go another year? I know they made it past the first round last year, but they're probably going to get bounced in the first round this year with the performance they gave in game one. I mean, does Austin Matthews get held accountable? Is he going to get held accountable for, shitting the bed, potentially again in the first round of in the playoffs? I want that out of my coach. I need that from my coach. And I think for this team to be successful and to win, that's what needs to happen. And I think that's what Kevin Adams, when he talked about after letting Granato go, that's what he wanted in a head coach. I'd be interested to see who else he interviewed, if anybody else was interviewed, because it happened so quickly. I mean, it was like less than a week, right? So that's one of the questions I would want to ask, Kevin Adams, is who else was interviewed? Was there anybody else interviewed? Was Gallant interviewed? Was Berube interviewed? Was, fill in the blank interviewed? That would be interesting. Or was it always going to be Lindy Ruff? When he was fired by New Jersey, did Kevin say to himself, like, that's the next coach head coach of this Buffalo Sabres after the season? When I let Don go, that's my guy. And Kevin Adams in a statement said, this has nothing to do with nostalgia. He believes that Lindy Ruff is the right head coach for this team right now. And any nostalgia and history between Lindy Ruff and this organization is just a bonus. And I agree with that, man. Like, I think people need to get past the nostalgia thing. It is nice. It's fantastic that the nostalgia comes with this. And you remember those great playoff runs in the late 90s and those fantastic playoff runs from 05 to 08. But at the end of the day, this was about being the right guy for this group of players. And I think Lindy Ruff is. He's a very, defensively sound coach, very defensively disciplined coach. And we've seen what Lindy can do. And I think this might have played a part in it too. You see what Lindy can do when he has a good goaltender. Help get this team to the finals with Dominik Hasek. I mean, how many conference finals did they go to? With what he's done with Ryan Miller. Honestly, again, a staph infection away from winning a Stanley Cup. He really was. Those teams and how they were buzzing and how just everything was just booming with them. I think they have their goaltending situation figured out with both Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Devin Levi. So for me, it's if you have that big important thing figured out, and Lindy brings like a hybrid of what he did with these teams in 05 and 06 and just the current mindset in today's NHL, I think this is a wild card team next year, if not better. We had Arda O'Kale on a week ago, and we talked to him, and he texted me, honestly, within a few minutes of this being announced, and he's like, I think they're a wild card team next year under Lindy. I really do. Because that's the thing that really held them back, in my opinion, was just not paying attention to small details, not executing the details, and just a lack of accountability. And, I'm grateful for everything Don Granato did from a development standpoint with this organization. But at the end of the day, he just wasn't a hard enough coach. You have to be able to, punish players, hold them accountable, put a guy in the press box that maybe you don't want to, sit a guy mid-game that maybe you don't want to, and make those difficult decisions in order for your team your young players to learn about, what they do out there. They will be held accountable for it. I mean, dude, take a shot for every time I say accountable in this podcast. But it's true. It really is. So got a few comments here in the peanut gallery. From K-Dog, let's go. Some of these players are in for a rude awakening. I couldn't agree more with you, Kevin. They should be, and I hope they're ready for it, and they should welcome it, because these are the things that he's going to teach that you're going to have to do to win in this league and to get to the playoffs and sustain success in the playoffs. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. From Parabat or Matt, it would be nice to see Ted Nolan come out as an assistant. I don't think that's going to happen. I personally don't think Ted Nolan will ever be behind work for this organization ever again after the way he was treated both times. I just think it's never going to happen. I think Lindy loved to yell at Kalinin and Afinogenov. Their tendency to cough up the puck is horrible in situations. He doesn't let that go. From Lyndon Johnston. Pekka, I doubt it. He's under contract with the Rangers. I can't see them letting him go. And, it'd be, a lateral move. He'd be going from one assistant coach with one organization to another. I think that if Lindy, if Pekka leaves that position with the Rangers, the reigning President's Trophy winners, cup contenders, it would have to be for a head coaching job. No less than that. Like, you just don't leave that position after your first year of being an assistant coach in the NHL and just make a lateral move to be an assistant somewhere else. To me, that just would make absolutely no sense. But I would love it. Don't get me wrong. I would love it. I would love to have Mike behind a bench with Lindy, but it just won't happen. I am very interested to know who he's going to bring in as his assistants. That is very interesting to me. He should be allowed to pick his own assistants. James Patrick was an assistant for him for years. They called him Jeep. I wonder if he might be in the cards. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know, man. It's a fun day to be a Sabres fan, especially with the NHL playoffs going on right now. I personally just it sucks watching another year of playoffs without being able to watch the Sabres in the playoffs after now 13 years. But this is something fun to talk about, right? This is fun. This is positive, and I hope that it leads to even better things. We have the draft at the end of the season. Will they use that pick? Will they trade it? Will this decision for Lindy as head coach, will that affect that decision? He has so much experience in the league. Will Kevin lean on him when it comes to roster decisions and what he wants out of this roster? Are there players on this team that Lindy's not going to like or not going to want to coach? Jeff Skinner. I'll say this, man. Jeff Skinner should be worried about his job, because I don't think Lindy is going to, allow that type of those type of defensive shortcomings out of any players on this team. So in terms of Jeff Skinner, that's a guy who I don't know how they do it. I know he has a no trade clause. I don't know if they would buy him out, but that's an interesting conversation to have. I think that, Jeff's position on this team could be in trouble. Some more comments from Pablo. Lindy fits the requirements whether or not he worked here before. He brings back credibility to the organization from the fan base. Absolutely, I agree. If Jordan Greenway doesn't have 200 plus hits next season, I will be shocked. Agreed. He encourages that type of player to go out there and be physical and still find ways to score. This is going to be a much more physical team next year, man. They're not going to be a soft hockey team. He's not going to stand for that kind of stuff. From Josh, if Lindy breaks the drought and the story of the Sabres isn't a documentary or movie, I have lost faith in Hollywood. I know that would be, again, a coming full circle moment here, him getting hired today. Do you think players will come here because of Lindy Ruff? If so, who do you think? I think Lindy Ruff will if a player is making a decision in free agency about wanting to come to Buffalo or say moving, lifting a no trade clause, I think having an experienced head coach like Lindy helps that decision rather than a first time head coach that, they might not have much experience with. Lindy's been, has coached a lot of different players in this league. I think he has a good reputation in this league. So I think that would, in terms of who, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Like former player wise, I don't know. I would like to think that guys that are, maybe entering their prime or in their prime right now that have played for Lindy, if they were available, they would have good things to say. And, maybe if that a discussion was had with Buffalo about them, either signing here or being traded here, like Lindy would make that conversation maybe a little bit easier rather than a first-time head coach like a Don Granato or a Seth Appert. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it hurts. I'll put it that way. Lindy commands respect. He'll yell at guys rather than patting them on the head, saying it'll be okay. Max, Roy, Vanek, Jury, and Briere all had wonderful years under Lindy. He can be the best out of he can get the best out of a lot of different players types. Dahlin is a Lindy player 100%. I couldn't agree with that one more, man. From Matt. Duane, remember 2005, 2010? Buffalo was known as a soft team. Stafford, Pominville, even. No, they weren't, man. No, they weren't. You're wrong, Matt. Sorry. You're wrong. They weren't a soft team. Maybe in that moment with Miller, after a lot of guys had left the organization and the team had entered a really low point for sure. But no chance in hell was this a soft team under Lindy Ruff. No way. No way. I mean, you could look at the Ottawa brawl as just one example, man. You had a fourth line of Mayer, Coletta, and Peters. You calling teams with those guys on it soft? No way. No way. I don't agree with that at all. And even before that, like having a guy like Mike Greer. Mike Greer, he didn't take shit from anybody. And he would stand toe-to-toe with anybody. No way, man. I don't agree with that at all. I'm sorry. By the way, when Boston sweeps Toronto, the Leafs are going to fire Sheldon Keefe and blow up their roster. You have to. You have to. I mean, you fired the GM last year. The coach is next on the chopping block for sure. So I don't know. Again, I can't wait. I hope guys like Fairburn and Harrington and Lance Lyasowski that they get comments from players on this, because that I want to hear their reaction to this, because they might have had an idea this was coming, because it was asked to the GM during his presser after he fired Granato, again, very less than a week ago. And then it was asked to certain players like Alex Tuck, if they would embrace a guy like Lindy. I'd be interested to listen to some comments. Owen Power, get ready, man. Get ready. Because that soft style of bullshit hockey, defensive hockey that you played this season a lot this year, it's not going to fly under Lindy Ruff. And when I say soft, I mean, I don't mean like he's going to put you in a situation he's going to want you to go out of your way to hit guys, be physical, fight. That's not what I'm saying, but he's not going to allow a guy like Owen Power to not enforce his will on other players in the defensive zone. Not lean into guys, not force guys out of the way just because he's bigger than them. You forget about that, man. So Owen Power, I hope you're ready, because Lindy's coming. And I'm embracing. I'm excited for that. I think a guy like Owen Power, as much as Dahlin is going to thrive, I think Owen Power is really going to thrive under Lindy. In terms of cleaning up his defensive zone stuff, like Lindy will help with that, and he'll give him the freedom to be an offensive threat. Bowen Byram too. I can't wait to see how he thrives. He's still very young. I think he's 22. Can't wait to see, how he thrives under Lindy. Defensively, we have such a deep top, at least your top three, and we'll see what happens here in the offseason. But, I'm excited to see what Lindy brings to the table when it comes to them. I wonder what Lindy does with Krebs. I think Lindy would like a guy like Krebs. I do. But unfortunately, you only have so many roster spots for these prospects that are going to want to push for a place in the NHL next year. And as much as I think Jeff Skinner could be on his way out, Peyton Krebs too. I really do. Krebs, the new Coletta. Yeah, but he's a first round pick. You don't want your first round pick to be a Coletta. And it's not a shot against Coletta. This team is in store for an eye opener. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Krebs has a great attitude and he's young, but he has to be on the score sheet and he has to do, or he has to be a true fourth liner. He can't half-ass it. I agree. Like it's you shit or get off the pot, right? You have to help offensively. You were a first round pick. You were part of arguably the biggest trade in franchise history, and you were the centerpiece of that essentially. Before we really got a taste of what Alex Tuch brought to the table, he was the big piece of that trade coming back. So you need that guy to start contributing offensively, and if he's not going to, then again he might be on the outside looking in for sure. I think Lindy for sure is going to fix his power play. Without a doubt, he is going to fix his power play. Whatever that was on the power play we saw last season, the lack of efficiency, the lack of attention to detail, he is going to fix that. That is another positive. Just from out of pure experience and dealing with so many different players on different power plays, throughout the years. Like Lindy brings so much to the table to fix and put these high skill players in better situations to score when you have the man advantage. I already commented on defensively what he brings to the table, how disciplined of teams he coaches when it comes to playing defensive hockey, while still not sacrificing offensive threat. I think that your penalty kill is about to get a lot better. And again, just he embraces defensemen getting the puck out of the zone, head manning the puck, and you have three guys that can do that really well. So with Dahlin, Power, and Byram. So excited, man, for those three players specifically, what a guy like Lindy Ruff can do for them. Very, very excited. So with that being said, I don't know what more I have to say. Playoff hockey is going on right now as we speak. I'm not sure of any scores out there currently. I haven't looked. I've just been really through the roof with the news we got today. I don't know, man. This is as good as this offseason can feel right now as a Sabres fan. Lindy Ruff is back. Lindy Ruff. I wish I knew his middle name. Lindy Ruff is back. And this is a really possible, true, full circle moment. Sometimes you have to go back to move forward in your best Matthew McConaughey, Lincoln commercial voice. You can do it in. I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready, and I can't wait for that opening press conference. So a few more comments here. Happy for Ruff, very happy. Thank you, Alex, new listener here on Twitter. I appreciate comments. Cameron is his middle name. Lindy Cameron Ruff. Welcome home, buddy. Welcome home. How much say does Lindy have at the draft table? I think we all want the first round pick trade. Does Lindy dictate the player we go after? I think he does. And I think Kevin has to, they has to have that conversation with Lindy. It's like, hey, we're going to trade our first round pick. We're going to get you a player. I think guys, I think the reality of a guy like a Blake Coleman or a Boone Jenner or, dream scenario for me, a Marcus Foligno type player is a bigger reality now with Lindy being the bench boss than it was ever before this announcement was made. So a type of player like that who plays a heavy game, a guy who could score you 25 goals, but he's big and he's nasty. I could totally see that being a guy coming in, whether via trade, free agency, 100% now that Lindy Ruff is the coach of this team. From Scott Singerland, you were the first person I thought of when I heard Lindy was signing. I'm a huge Lindy fan as well. Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited. And how can you not be? And anybody who isn't, they just think that this is just a nostalgia thing. Like, no, you don't bring a guy like Lindy Ruff here just based on nostalgia. Look at what this organization, this fan base has been for over a decade now. You're not doing this for vibes. You're just not. You're doing this because he fits the mold. He fits the mold of the coach that you want, that you think is best suited for this team. Maybe Gallant was that. I don't know. I don't know. It's not like Gallant. I mean, Gallant has been to the finals more recently, and Lindy Ruff, sure. But it's not like Gallant has this like extravagantly better track record than Lindy. Sure, you can say Berube for sure, 100%. He has a cup, in the last 5 years. If you're going to argue with me about this hire, Berube is really the only guy that you can present me with and say, why not that guy? Who knows? Maybe he did. Maybe he did interview Berube. Maybe Berube didn't want the job. I don't know. Who knows? We don't know that situation. So, watching his post-game press conferences is going to make me feel 15 again. Yeah, man. And like, he doesn't hold back. He doesn't give you cliche answers. He's not going to bullshit you. He's not going to bullshit the media. He is going to be honest and forthcoming, and he's going to not hold back. And I think we need that as a fan base. We need that as a team. Players need that. They need that accountability. I just want you guys to remember, this has been brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room, with over 300 beers to choose from at 8 different Western New York locations. Fatty Beer is open 7 days a week from 11:30 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. later. Live music, entertainment, and trivia. And, of course, both kid and dog friendly. And Buffalo Logo Apparel. I can't stress this enough. Get over to buffalogo.com or at Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter. Go check out our merchandise, the Hashik 39 Letterman hat, the RJ two-tone hat. They're both fantastic. The GOAT shirts and hoodies. And keep an eye out, because we're going to be dropping some Lindy merch soon, man. It's coming. It's coming. I was talking to Eric, and it's going to be absolutely fire. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait just for you guys to see that. So, at Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter, buffalogo.com, at Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter, fattybeer.com. I'm going to let you guys get to watch some playoff hockey. Lindy Ruff is back as the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. I'll hang up and listen. And as always, go Sabres. Welcome home, Lindy. I'll talk to you guys later.
Different than they did before. Life's a sordid